15 in exchange for a burrito.
Wow. It's amazing.
It's time for Shop Talk with the Last Comic Shop podcast.
Countdown to the Last Comic Shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Close enough. I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're over here.
All right, we're back. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson, joined by my regular co-host, Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful Mikey Wood and our good friend, George from Shortbox Summary. And welcome to an
Shortbox Summary!
an interesting experiment that we're trying here. So there was this thought that a lot of the time on the Last Comic Shop, we pick a book, we read a book, we rate a book, we recommend other books.
Something else we stole from mates. Stormtroopers hitting the ground.
We don't have a chance to talk about current events, things that are going on in comic books now, or what we're reading, or new comic shop day picks from that week. So we thought we would try this, I don't know, what do you call this? Live stream? Yes. So we're going to start off this week talking about the death of Jim Shooter. It was the big comic book news that we had this week. He passed away, and I know for myself, I was a huge fan of Jim Shooter. Again, he was the editor-in-chief of Marvel when I was kind of coming of age in comics. And so without him, there wouldn't have been Secret Wars or Black Suit Spider-Man or, I don't know, books coming out on time. So
artists getting paid for those books.
There you go. The royalty program, which I don't know if it's still a thing or not.
Yeah. But I will say this. He was kind of a divisive guy in comic books. And so I thought that we'd take an opportunity on today's show to just talk about it a little bit. So we'll start off with Chad. So Chad, do you have any, I don't know, Jim Shooter stories?
Not really. I mean, fascinating guy. You probably heard the background where he wrote his first comic at 13 years old and mailed it in. And DC didn't know that a 13-year-old was writing their stories. So they hired him. And by the time he was 14, he was a published author, which is super impressive.
No, it's almost famous just for comic books. Like it's incredible. Yeah,
no, I have a 14-year-old at home. I don't think he'd be doing professional level things. He cuts the grass and we're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to have his parents sign all the checks. It was kind of one of those things.
There you go. But the big thing for me about Jim Shooter is I haven't yet read his Superboy and Legion of Superheroes, which I hear is fantastic. And Secret Wars is great, but more for the concept as opposed to the story itself. But for me, Jim Shooter's big legacy is going to be about empowering artists, whether it is things like Mikey was alluding to with getting artists paid and, upping Marvel's royalty program to match some of the independent books in DC at the time. Or whether it's giving people like Frank Miller free reign on Daredevil to do what he wants. Or Walt Simonson, where I was reading some of the things, people were posting about Jim Shooter. And Walt Simonson posted a story about how he heard through the walls in Ann Nesenti's office Shooter talking about Walt himself. And he was like, he's like a gun that can't be aimed. And I was like, That's a pretty good compliment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim Shooter took those guys and gave them opportunity to make magic happen, and magic it was. So for that, we should all be grateful.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mikey, thoughts on Jim Shooter?
Well, I mean, it's weird. My first exposure, the first time I realized that there was a person named Jim Shooter was because in issue 1 of GI Joe, there's this screenshot. They're looking at screens with all the character names of all the members of GI Joe, and to the like far right or something or far left, there's one named Shooter, and you don't see a picture of him. And I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old or something. And I was like, who the fuck is Shooter? Can we say that? I was like, who's Shooter?
We just did.
But yeah, I'm like, I don't have a Shooter action figure, and I couldn't, and then like, so what I did was I found, I took a couple of different GI Joes and I unscrewed their parts and I switched them around and painted them with nail polish and stuff for my mom and whatever, and I made a character named Shooter, and I was like, oh yeah, and then I realized, okay, so Jim Shooter's the name of the editor of this thing. So later on, he was like, as I grew older, I recognized like the name was everywhere, but I wasn't really a Marvel guy. Like I read G.I. Joe and Transformers, and that's really about it. I didn't really read any of that kind of stuff. But he had his like fingers in everything at some point. I mean, he worked for both companies. He had his name was everywhere. He was also incredibly tall, by the way. But all of these he was extremely prolific and extremely, but the more and more I got into reading about the history of comics, the more and more I saw his name in that. And, the fact that he started, I was really impressed with the fact that he was writing and really these are like the first, that's the first published work of his, in Adventure Comics. Like I'm a latter-day Legion of Superhero fan, and I grabbed a bunch of these up, and that's where his career started. And the stories are like super charming. Like they're goofy, like everything was back then, 1966 or whatever it was. But they're charming stories, and they're actually, if you think about the fact that a 14-year-old kid wrote them, it's way more. I'm not going to say mature, but it like you said, like Chad said, doesn't seem like a 14-year-old kid was doing this, and it was just super impressive. And the fact that I don't know if he's considered the youngest person to ever work professionally in comics, but I get the feeling he might be. I mean, just for that alone, and then when I read more about how he did initiate getting people more royalties for certain books, for books that they worked on, bumping page rates, things like that, versus the fact that I understand that he was quite Machiavellian and quite, difficult to work with and for quite often.
I feel like he had to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, he got Marvel back in gear during that time, and then
it's again, like wrangling cats.
Yeah, like I didn't realize at the time that he was behind the New Universe stuff, which I bought a few of because it was new, and I wasn't a Marvel person, so I thought I'd start here, and I actually found them really interesting. And I now have a box that contains every single thing of the New Universe from the beginning to the end of it, and he was instrumental in that. And it's considered a failure, but I think it's really just a failure because people didn't want that. They wanted what they already had because
they like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of they blow Pittsburgh up. A lot of those books are actually really pretty good. Like their Night Mask in particular is a favorite of mine. Starbrand is really cool. Merc has nothing to do with any of the other ones.
I feel like he took a lot of those ideas and eventually took them over to Valiant. And again, as a guy, and we're missing our other co-host J.A. Scott here, but I know that Valiant, while Jim Shooter was behind the reins, was an incredible comic book company. Everything was lining up. There was a lot of excitement about their books. And it was all really because of Jim Shooter and his vision. I mean, Bob Layton was there too, but he was able to, again, wrangle cats to a certain extent, which I think you need. I think you need that strong hand or that guiding presence, even if people are like, man, you're a jerk,
So I have a couple side notes before we let George talk. One, Mikey, did you follow in DDP when they introduced Shooter?
No, I didn't. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't really read GI Joe since since back in the early '90s when everybody went to ninja high school together. Like that's what.
There you go. Well, you were not the only one to notice Shooter there, so they eventually turned her into
Oh.
a character and retcon that. And then thing number 2 was you're talking about the stories that he wrote, and just a fun background info was I guess as a kid, Jim Shooter was had some illnesses he was dealing with, and so he was in the hospital reading a ton of comic books. And one of the things he noticed was that Marvel comic books read so much better to him than DC comic books. And so that's why he submitted his work to DC. He was trying to incorporate some of the Marvel like soap opera elements and some of those things that he loved. Like as he was in the hospital, he figured out what made Marvel comics so great and tried to take that across the street to DC. And that's what helped make his Legion run so awesome.
All right. Well, let's throw it over to George. He's the young fella on this show. So, George, thoughts on Jim Shooter?
I am definitely the youngest person here, so I don't have as many connective tissues to just the legacy that Jim Shooter left behind. But I will say, just from like an outside observer perspective, that like it kind of feels like he is like the Steve Jobs of comics, where he was like not an engineer, not a designer, not that, but like he knew how to give people what they wanted. And so Chad alluded to it earlier, where it was like Secret Wars isn't like a greatly written story. It's a pretty story. I like the Mike Zeck arc a lot, but just as like a initial concept, it's like, yeah, this is fucking genius. Like, what took so long to think of a story like this, where we take all of our best characters from the X-Men, from the Avengers, from the Crusher Creel, you know, from all of our Doctor Doom and Galactus, and get them all in one location doing something for the ultimate prize. And so, like,
I believe the answer to that is Hasbro. It took Hasbro.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was Mattel.
It was
Mattel.
It was the Mego figures, right? Like that was like the.
Well, no, because Mattel was He-Man.
Yeah, but they
Superpowers
wanted
was supposed to go against He-Man, and
they
thought it was
wanted
Mego.
against Kenner.
Right.
They wanted us because
Kenner had superpowers. You're right.
1/4-inch figure line to go up against Star Wars.
Yeah,
and GI Joe.
We talked about it recently about how Contest of Champions was technically like the first big like company-wide crossover event, but like it's not very good. So like Secret Wars, I think, is like the one that we're going to talk about as being like really like the first iteration of what has since become like an annualized tradition. And so you just like, holy shit, man, like good job thinking of that first. And then it gets into like the Valiant stuff, where I haven't read a ton of Valiant books, but like whenever I went to a comic shop when I was in high school, like everyone was talking about it like the one that got away. Like everyone was just like, oh man, like comics are okay now, but man, you missed something special with Valiant. Like it just sounded like I had already missed the golden age. Like it had happened 10 years before I really got into comics. And so like just that guy being ahead of the curve for so many things, on top of just protecting artists for their work and protect them especially against giant corporations who steal all their fucking creative ideas and their labor. I don't know, it just seems like the guy was more important to comics than like being the best writer, which he was still like a fantastic writer. The dude, like I've just like read his Wikipedia page. The fact that like, oh yeah, my parents were struggling financially, so I was really excited to start selling comics at DC to help out because like, you know, the car broke down. My dad was working at a steel mill, wasn't getting paid at all. And like steel mill worker, I'm just like, oh shit, like this guy was living through Flashdance, like in Pittsburgh, you know, like. And then he got to like help keep the family afloat. Like, that's an incredible story, and like the way you're talking about, like it's just a completely uncommon, atypical thing, but like something that actually happened and actually worked out really well. So
yeah, I think that's the last thing I'm gonna say. Every single really good story from like the 80s and early 90s, somehow Jim Shooter's name pops up. Like whether it's the fact that I can't remember, was it Chris Claremont that wanted Dark Phoenix to stay dead or bring her back.
They wanted Phoenix alive and lobotomized.
And Jim Shooter said, like, she just killed like tons of planets. She ain't getting a free pass on this. And so eventually they did bring her back. But it's kind of like neat that he was like that counterbalance in creativity, which you need. Like, we talk about Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie. And it was because it was not just one person's vision of what was going on. There were conflicting people, and they were all throwing things into the soup. And I think that Jim Shooter created a Marvel environment where people just threw things into the soup, and it ended up being everybody's best work. I do want to kind of add to finish off thing here that according to the reports that I've seen, he did pass away of esophageal cancer. And as a fella that has struggled with GERD for like 25 years, that's, heartburn, acid reflux, and things like that. Esophageal cancer is not only one of the most devastating cancers out there, but there's not really any screening guidelines for it. So I would recommend, if you're a smoker, if you have a long history of acid reflux, at the time that you get your colonoscopy, 45, say, hey, they're going to knock me out anyways. Just like me, get yourself an endoscopy. See if you've got that Bartlett's esophagus, which is one of the more early signs that you could potentially have some problems. And it's just the right thing to do. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. So, all right, let's move on in Talking Shop to George, who's going to talk a little bit about some books that came out this week that he might want people to know about, right? Like, you're our Wednesday warrior. What came out this week, George?
Yeah, I think Chad and I are the two biggest staying up to date people when it comes to books, right?
Well, until my comic shop went under.
Okay, sure. Let's see. I am looking at July 9th. I'm looking at the wrong day. Sorry, let me go to 7/2. Man, I just recorded an episode yesterday talking about like everything that's coming out recently that I'm excited for. And I talked about everything that's coming out in July. The books I'm most looking forward to, man, like this is kind of like a relaunch city for at least for Marvel, right? So this month we're getting a brand new Fantastic Four #1. We're getting a brand new Captain America #1. We're getting a brand new Mortal Thor #1. And I think we talked about this a little bit on like the late night episode of Shortbox we did a few weeks ago, but it's just when it's the same creative team, I really hate it when they relaunch with a new #1. Like I find that absolutely infuriating. To be honest, even if it's just like, even if there's a new artist, I'm like, yeah, but it's like probably picking up a lot of the threads that were in the last volume. So you're actually just like kind of doing a disservice to readers by making it just a little bit more complicated than you should.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree.
That's what we're dealing with this week. That's what we're dealing with all month, to be frank.
Yeah, they need to make that legacy numbering more prevalent as well.
Right. Yeah, I did take a look at some trades and omnibuses that were coming out this week. I did see that they're finally going to be releasing the Authority in that compact DC Digest version.
That came out today, or that came out this week, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was a great idea, given they're supposed to be in the Superman movie.
Oh, maybe? I saw my girl Angela just tearing shit up in that Superman trailer. That's the Engineer, baby. Yeah, get ready.
So I saw that, and then I think they re-released the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 with the Alex Ross cover. So those folks that want to beef up on some Fantastic Four before the movie, I'm not 1,000% sure how many issues are in that first volume, but I don't think it gets you to the Coming of Galactus. I think it's maybe the first 26 or something. So,
Speaking of Alex Ross, did I show you guys my find today in the Buck bins?
oh,
It's actually a Wizard World Comic-Con program, but it's the old Alex Toth style
Oh, that's nice.
with the Kingdom Come gang there.
yeah.
But yeah,
That was one of the neat things that I found out about Alex Ross. Was he first started drawing because of things like Flash Gordon and the Super Friends. Like that was his, when we went and saw that, they had an Alex Ross exhibit at the Andy Warhol Museum.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, any other new books coming out this month or week?
Let's see, new books. There's X-Men Hellfire Vigil, which I think is just like a sort of memorial for the former Krakoa era of X-Men. I assume JA's hyped as shit about that as the podcast's biggest X-Men fan, right?
I think he posted that.
Especially with how much, especially with how Krakoa ended. I bet he can't wait to revisit Krakoa already. Besides that, there's not a lot of major books. Like I do think the biggest book this week is Chip Zdarsky on Captain America.
Okay. Are you excited about that, George? Do you like Chippers?
I'm a big Chippers fan. Yeah, for sure. Daredevil was awesome. Like that book that he did was fantastic. I actually really liked his Batman run, even though I think it was a little too superhero-y for a lot of people. I actually had fun with it. And it felt like a pretty organic way for whatever that crossover event Absolute Power was last year. Like Failsafe becoming like a central antagonist in that story, I think makes sense from what Zdarsky started with.
Yeah. I like the failsafe stuff. I like that was really strong. A couple of the storylines weren't, but for the most part, it was.
Yeah, that alternate Earth arc probably ran a little too long, and KG Beast being like the ultimate bad guy. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. There are some parts I didn't like, but I'm stoked to shit for this, man. Like we haven't gotten. There was the JMS Captain America run, which Andy, you actually plugged that I recommended that.
Yeah, I finally got around to reading that, and I really liked it. The
first 6 issues are the best part of that run, for sure.
Then I'm glad that I jumped off. I read that trade, and that was it. I was like, oh, this is a complete Captain America story. I'm done. Here, real quickly, here's a couple other trades that came out this week. One for Mikey, the Strike Force Moratori Omnibus came out this week. Also, the Deceased Omnibus came out this week. Which we've done an episode on the last Comic Shop all about that.
Yeah, those books are way better than they ever write to be.
Oh, they're so good. That whole thing from beginning to end is just so good. Like, and the DC versus Vampire stuff, that's really good too.
Yeah, I have to pick up the second round, the World War V.
Yeah, it's a little sillier. Like it's got some more humor to it, but because DC's was pretty dour for the most part. But yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. Another neat book that I think I talked on the last Comic Shop before was that DC Finest line of trade paperbacks that they've got now. They came out with The Legend of Wonder Woman, which has the Trina Robbins art, which I was actually very happy with that book.
Yeah,
it was like a post-crisis throwback to the original Golden Age Wonder Woman, written by Kurt Busiek, and
Was that before the George Perez or concurrent?
I think it was right before. Yeah. I don't know, Mikey. You're our DC historian.
I think that was. Well, let me look. I like that. Well, I like that story because it's charming. Legend of Wonder Woman, I think, was 86, so that was about the same time. I think it came out concurrently.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but it was definitely wrapping up that pre-crisis continuity of Wonder Woman. People start disappearing from Paradise Island, and it's like I don't know, she's looking into a magic crystal like her mom, and she's like, oh, I remember, when my daughter was fighting these sea creatures. Blah.
Have you guys grabbed any of those books from that DC Finest line yet?
Yes, yeah. I have which ones do I have?
I bought my. While you think about it, I bought my first one maybe 2 weeks ago. I was up in the big city, and I found a copy of the Suicide Squad, which is like all their first appearances in chronological order, from what I can tell. And man, that is such a fucking great way to read old comics. Is that book line? Paper quality is great. Printing quality is great. It's funny, we talked about Jim Shooter earlier. That was the first book, like, I remember when I was in high school, like, just really getting into comics. I picked up random comics when I was a kid, but it was mostly like Star Wars books. You guys always, I really appreciate this about you, always talk about the importance of licensed comics as being like a gateway drug for people into the medium. And so, like, I was reading so many Star Wars books as a kid, but never considered myself a comic fan. I grabbed random Spider-Man and X-Men issues just because of the cartoons. But I remember, like, going to Borders, and, like, I felt like I was, like, trying to understand this entire universe that had already happened without me. And so one of the books I remember grabbing, it was a big deal to me because in 2005 I was a dishwasher making barely any money, and I grabbed Secret Wars, which was $30 for 12 issues, and that was, like, such a great deal. But it, like, summer just became the time for me to catch up on old books just because I was working, so I had more disposable income. And man, like, picking up DC Finest Suicide Squad, I feel like a kid again, because, like, I never read these fucking books. I don't know anything about Suicide Squad whatsoever.
That's awesome. All right, so I have questions, dude, if you don't mind, with the World's Finest editions, or
Yeah.
DC's Finest. You mentioned the paper quality. Is it like the high gloss, like modern comic paper? Like, what does the coloring look like? Like, how does it compare?
Yes, he's going to pull one. By the way, I bought the Peacemaker one, which, because I didn't have those issues in trade before like that, so I thought I'd grab those. And I also drew there was the Crypto one of all about crypto. I bought that for my daughter. But that's cool. They're knocking it out of the park. You know what I mean? With the compacts and then this line, they're really getting a chance for younger fans.
Oh, that's nice.
All right. So George is paging through. So help me out, because our pal J8 was just asking me about facsimile editions recently. And I was going through and showing him, like, oh, so they are the original comics, complete with the original ads. However, it's the upgraded paper stock, and sometimes that makes the coloring look a little bit different. And my eyes are getting bad. So can you translate for me with the DC's Finest? Like, what's the story on those?
I assume it's more of an idealized version of what the printing should be, but, like, the colors themselves look very dated in a good, positive way. Like,
okay,
this looks like when I bought Secret Wars, when I bought Crisis on Infinite Earths back in 2005, 2006.
Can you see the dots?
And for worse.
Are they solid? Are they flat?
They're solid. They're solid. It looks like they've been digitally upgraded, but, like, the colors themselves are, like, the right like kind of muted.
Okay.
And, like, actually, no, I'm looking through it now. There are some dots in some places, and there are times where, like, it looks like, you can tell that it was, like, inked with permanent marker instead.
That's the best.
Right.
Oh, thanks, dude.
You mentioned Andrew. You mentioned the Peacemaker one, and I had, prior to that, I had this. This is how I had those Charlton Peacemaker things. Have you ever seen these? Have you ever seen these at all? The Classic Comics Library, which is out by, I think it's the company's, like, I don't know, it's like Classic, but like, it's literally scans of the pages. They can't be legal. These things can't be legal. But I got this from Amazon, and it's like, I have this one. I have a bunch of Blackhawks, like all the 1940s Blackhawks and things like that. So this company made these trade paperbacks, and I can't imagine that that there's anything legal about it. But those old Charlton issues of Pacemaker are bonkers fun. Like they're
Yeah. No,
they're
that's a
super neat.
really, really good series. That kind of reminds me of like the old school like kitchen sink press trades you used to get. They were like one step up from a bootleg.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't look that illegal. It does look like Prince Valiant books. Like
yeah, they do that. They do all those like they did some Flash Gordon ones. I mean, there's a barcode on it. That doesn't mean it's legal, but like, yeah, like I don't know, but it's got. But what's fun is that they include the Peacemaker patter, the old letters columns and things like that. So that's kind of fun.
Because I love that stuff, man. Like the letter columns, like
that's what I love about those facsimile editions, and it really bothers. Marvel did this a lot on their facsimiles when they put like the new barcode and stuff like that on the front cover, or I hate it. So it ruins it. Like I want the cover to look almost exactly like it, except it says $2.99 instead of
right. We talked about that the other night too, is because I was saying the same thing where they use the modern barcode, and so you can tell it looks different, except when they did the facsimile for the first appearance of Miles Morales. And comic prices hadn't changed since the first appearance of Miles Morales. So unless you know to look at that barcode and know that the first appearance of Miles Morales, the original copy has a 4 in the barcode versus the facsimile that has a 1 in the barcode, or there's a very small Marvel in a red box that you can see.
411. Yeah.
Wow.
So. By the way, before we move on from this particular sub, I wanted to talk to Chad, because one thing that I haven't been following is what's been going on in like the main Amazing Spider-Man series. Like I know that's your ride or die, that one in Daredevil. So fill me in on your 2 ride or dies. Good? Bad? You still buying it? I'm gonna
cut in front of Chad. Joe Kelly is one of the best things to happen to Spider-Man in the last 3 years, and I say that as someone who actually really liked the previous volume of Spider-Man, like all the gang war shit. It was Zeb Wells writing that. I actually really enjoyed that volume. I especially enjoyed the ending, and that is not me shitting on Zeb Wells when I say it, because I did love the first 60 issues of that Spider-Man series. But man, Joe Kelly it feels like a hug, man. Like I feel like I'm reading Spider-Man comics in the mid 2000s, which I'm just a biased bitch, man. Like that is my sweet spot. And so it feels like volume 2 Amazing Spider-Man. I love it. It's so good. Sorry, Chad.
No worries, dude. The end of the Zeb Wells stuff got brutal. Like it was like punching your face into meat. Brutality towards the end there, but no. So I'm behind because for things I think we might talk about later. I'm 3 issues into the Amazing Spider-Man, but this has been cranked out every 2 weeks. I want to say, or is it every week? I know 2 weeks. They're up to issue 7 already, and I think the last one I read was issue 3. But as George alluded to, it's Joe Kelly. You get Pepe Larraz on arts with occasional backups from John Romita Jr. It's fun, Spidey. It's still carrying over some of those ideas from the Zeb Wells and the what do you call it? The Nick Spencer even. But you do get Green Goblins and stuff like that in this, and so.
No. You get hobgoblins and stuff like this. Norman, I actually love the baby turn that Norman's got right now. And like I'm so sad because like it's gonna go away. Obviously it's gonna go away. There's no way they can keep Norman Osborn on the side of the Angels forever. I'm caught up through issue 6. This book is rad. My favorite thing is that like it makes Peter not a fucking loser for once. Like he actually got a job with like some previously unknown friend of his from middle school, like the one who would get him into trouble as a kid.
The big retcon, Peter Parker, troublemaker. He wasn't all wheat cakes.
Which like makes sense because like a lot of dorks cause trouble because they're smart enough to get away with it. So I'm cool with that retcon personally. But no, he's like working at like some big tech workplace and like he looked like a really shitty employee, and then like they actually had a reason for him to look like a shitty employee, and I'm like, oh, you guys fixed it. You guys made him so he wasn't like a complete. It's like, oh, Peter, why is your credit score 17? Like they did a really good job of turning that shit around, which was my biggest frustration with a lot of Peter Parker books, is that like I got my life together. Granted, he's a fictionalized superhero, but I'm like, man, what if he weren't a punk ass his entire life? That would be great.
What is that like, George? How does one do that?
Well, hey,
I have no kids. That really helps.
if you want a Peter Parker that got his life together, there's Ultimate Spider-Man, which is my baby. Like, I can't believe that's going to be ending at issue 24.
I actually, so there was some follow-up drama. We talked about that on the short box, the late night short box last week. Some follow-up, like apparently it's just Ultimate X-Men is ending at issue 24. The other books may or may not continue, but I don't know how much longer they're supposed to continue. I feel like John Hickman could write that book forever, though.
Are these Ultimate books related to the other Ultimate books at all? Or they or no? Because I didn't read Ultimate. The only one I read was Ultimate Spider-Man and like Ultimate Fantastic Four, like for a bit, and then I fell off of it. The last Ultimate Spider-Man issue I read was when Moon Knight came in, because I was just getting sick of it at that.
So like that was like 2007.
Yeah. I like missed Miles Morales, of course, so I don't have that shit. But you know,
basically, it's like the Ultimate Universe had to happen to give us the villain, the Maker, and then he creates a new universe that is exactly like that, except made specifically so heroes wouldn't appear. So like technically it fits in, but it's like those are the stories that should have happened, and now the current Ultimate Universe is the stories that are happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just know Reed Richards broke bad. He's the Maker.
Right.
He's been monkeying stuff left and right.
Yeah, but there is still a Reed Richards in this Ultimate Universe.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that was your issue of the year last year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Issue 4 of the Ultimates, Mikey. If you want to read one issue from the Ultimate line, I would recommend you read all of them, Ultimate Spider-Man. But if you just want to read one, it's Ultimates 4. I can't remember who the writer is.
Denise Camp.
Camp, yeah. But basically, the Maker goes to this universe, finds the Reed Richards, and says, "You're not Reed Richards. You're Dr. Doom. You're somebody inferior to me. Like, there can only be one Reed Richards, and that's me. Like, and so and he basically tortures this guy into believing that he's Dr. Doom." Which is, I think, where this Avengers movie is going to go next year. I think the Tony Stark of some other universe is going to be tortured so badly that he thinks he's Dr. Doom, and I think that's where it's going to go, and that's why he comes.
And then Pedro Pascal is going to be the Maker.
Something like that, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but with a big hat that looks like he's from Aliens.
Yeah. He's got that Xeno helmet.
Yeah. Because like the I've mentioned it before in the show. I'm neck deep and joyfully so in the Absolute DC books, and I think Absolute is, and I know I'm biased towards DC books, and I apologize for that, but for me, the DC Absolutes are kind of outdoing what Ultimate did in the beginning, because I don't think Ultimate took big enough swings.
Right.
With these DC books are taking huge, where they're like the characters, but they're,
this is what
massive difference. Yeah.
This is what New 52 should have been.
So,
right. Like, they're taking massive swings.
I don't think New 52 was meant to be massive. I just think it was like a soft restart. I don't think it was really. I think the readers put more into that than they should have, and that's why they were unhappy with a lot of it. But yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that Martian Manhunter book is like so bizarre, and so it's like beat poetry. Like, it's so weird.
I don't understand what's happening in that book, but like it is like Maya Angelou, where it's like you can forget what someone said, you can forget what someone did, but you always remember how they made you feel. And I know how I feel when I read that book. Where it's like,
weird.
holy shit,
it's like
this like it feels like an alien because it's just operating on a level that I can't really understand. So I have to reread it 3 times. I've started taking notes when I'm like writing it or when I'm reading it just to keep up.
Like
So
I
my-
really liked. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was gonna say I really liked Ultimates. Like Ultimates was, but at the time I was kind of like a pissed, So Ultimates was like, what if all the Avengers were assholes? And that's really the only difference. That's what the Ultimates was. That they didn't change much more than that.
You think this
know.
patch stands for France?
Yeah. So Captain America was basically what we're seeing. What Captain America would be in a fascist. But no, but I enjoyed it at the time. These are like there's just next level. So now I'm interested in the new kind of Ultimates because
Okay.
See,
sounds
I
really
actually I'm gonna push back on your reading it because I'm reading both Absolutes and Ultimate books. I
Mhm.
think that the Ultimate books are more impressive slightly just because like I don't see how Martian Manhunter ties in to Batman. I don't see how Batman ties into Superman. I don't see how Superman ties into Wonder Woman. Like those feel just like frankly like I guess Flash and Green Lantern kind of feel like they're in the same universe.
Yeah,
But like
I don't-
every
It's
other book
thematic
feels
at best so far.
yeah. Like, are they supposed to be the same? I guess there's supposed to be a Justice League at some point, isn't there?
Well, I
Right.
thought they were supposed to be like this new universe where Darkseid won,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
was the premise. But like all his books feel super independent to me, and like I can see how the Ultimates universe all fits together. X-Men less so, but like I think that it kind of makes it more interesting, even though I am severely confused when I'm reading that book because I need to reread it from issue 1 to really be caught up in time for issue 17. But like those books feel cohesive in a way that the Absolute books don't.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a awesome thing for the Absolute books is that it feels like 7 indie books at this point,
Go ahead, Chad.
Well, so what I was going to say is I genuinely think DC is doing a much better job than Marvel right now, cooking on all cylinders. And whether it's things like the big swings in the Absolute books, whether it's things like their Superman title's been really good for a long time, their Batman titles. Say what you want about Hush 2, but people.
I haven't read it. I haven't even read it yet because I
It's
don't.
fun.
I don't.
It came out huge.
I try
Hush-
to be positive. That book is dog shit.
Well,
man.
Hush
That book is
Hush
so
1
bad.
is shit. Hush 1 isn't very good.
I know. I have 7 hours of podcast talking about how bad Hush 1 is. But yeah.
But people are excited for the Jim Lee art. They're giving people something to talk about.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Marvel side of things, the Ultimates, it feels like it's its own pocket of quality. But so much of Marvel is treading water. And like, I don't know, earlier, George, you were talking about Chip Zdarsky. And I think you might know my feelings on this. I miss good Chip Zdarsky. I feel like the Chip Zdarsky we've gotten for the last 4 years, 5 years has been water treading Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
Right. I see him writing superhero books that are just they're okay superhero books, but I miss the big swing Zdarsky. I miss the out there Zdarsky, the one that told jokes and the one that was off color and the one that brought something to the table that I couldn't get anywhere else. And Marvel right now does not seem like it has that. It's the soap operas are continuing. But DC, man, they're outpacing them in terms of bringing something new.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I've part of the reason that I'm a, and we've been through this before, but not on a live. So whoever's listening to this, buckle up. But one of the reasons that I've always preferred DC is that as a publishing company, I think they take more risks with what they print out. Like Marvel would never have published V for Vendetta. Marvel would never have published Constantine, Hellblazer, excuse me. Marvel can't let go of their superheroes, and they can't, like, even when you think that they're going to do something dark and cool, like with like Midnight Suns, it still just doesn't go. Like they do the one thing incredibly well, like they always have, and that's what they make all their money. They always have, and they know how to market better, and they know how to and historically they've always been just like just cooler in a matter. It's more appealing and things like that. But like I can't think of anything like they used to have Epic. Epic was basically their Vertigo before Vertigo was Vertigo, really.
Right.
But they even kind of like just let that fade
But-
away in favor of
Even the mainline books aren't cooler anymore.
yeah.
Like I was talking about this on George's show. Like I miss the days when there were Marvel people that you got excited about. Like who on Marvel, like artist or writer, are you excited when they put out a book?
Yeah.
No, it
But
feels kind of like wrestling at this point, where it's just like, oh shit, like Goldberg is wrestling in Saturday Night Main Event next week, and like that's like how I feel. Like, oh, Joe Quesada's doing the art for Marvel
A
Knights
Black
World
Panther,
to Come.
yeah.
Yeah. White Panther, whatever. But yeah, like it's like that's like, oh shit, they got this old guy who used to be good, and like I love Joe Quesada. I'm not dunking on Joe Quesada when I say that, but you're right. Like we talked about this too, man, but like Donny Cates was like the last like fresh injection of excitement at that company, where like it was just crazy bananas.
None of his
coming
stories should have worked, but they all
No.
did.
Yeah.
All of the Marvel books that I actually do grab onto are things where they take like we said before, big swings with like Brubaker's Captain America run. You know, it kind of peters out towards the end a little bit, but like that was for the most part I'd say it's 3/4 incredible
Yeah,
and
but
1/4 pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
To Chad's point, that was 20 years ago.
yeah,
So-
right. And then like DC, like Daredevil as a character, I think for me has had more quality runs than any other character. Maybe because I'm not really deep into Spider-Man, but like you've got like Miller and Nocenti, and then Bendis, and then Brubaker, and then all of those have been super good. But those are, and new X-Men, like Morrison's new, but that's because they brought me over with Grant Morrison from Animal Man and Doom Patrol and things like that.
Well, I've got two things before we go to commercial break. The first one is I do think that I like Ultimates more from a storyline perspective that eventually might be folded back into the grander Marvel story. Like I don't really know how they would fold the absolute Batman and absolute Wonder Woman and back into the DC continuity.
not going.
The answer is Booster Gold. The answer is Booster Gold.
But I hope
regardless.
Yeah.
And I eventually feel like anytime you have these offshoots, I always worry about them collapsing under their own weight. Like
It's the
it's
ultimatum
cool
tidal wave.
Exactly. Like Absolute Batman, freaking great book right now. I don't know if it's going to be freaking great book at issue 40. It's great now because it's an injection of something new and fresh and whatever. But after 4 or 5 years of this, but with the Ultimates book, all they have to do is be like, oh, the 616 found the maker. Now you've got a huge crossover and another Secret Wars kind of thing with the 616 fighting all these people from the Ultimate Universe like they did before. And it becomes another ongoing story in that. Yeah.
And they'll call it Secret Wars again for the 4th time.
And I'll buy it. I will buy it, sir. I like anything with Secret Wars.
I miss when the House of Ideas actually had ideas.
There's something about Absolute Batman that gives me Grendel vibes, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know. I think it might be the art. Maybe looks a little bit like latter day Grendel.
He has a character like Grendel, right? Like if you're talking about the Matt Wagner Grendel, like the whole notion of him never retreating, always being 2 steps ahead of everybody and being like, nope, you're going to trap me in a building, I'll just burn it down. I'm not running away from this. I've already got this planned out. So it's very Hunter Rose like that. Like Hunter always seemed to have the next step.
I will say to Marvel's credit that I've been finding more books that I enjoy that I wasn't aware of at the beginning. So like I turned Chad on to Spider-Boy. I think my buddy Carlos turned me on to Spider-Boy. Like that was just like a really wholesome, enjoyable book that I wasn't reading until Carlos just wouldn't frankly shut the fuck up about it. And then I really enjoyed it. And like I have been going through, I really want to read this Ant-Man story that came out a few years ago, and this Wasp story that came out more recently. But I realized I don't know anything about the character Nadia Van Dyne. So I've been going back and reading older Wasp stories with her just to get an understanding of the character. And man, Unstoppable Wasp from 2017, like that's a really good book. Like that was just like a nice 8-issue miniseries. And so I don't know if they're just like they're putting out so much volume that it's hard to keep up with the actual quality, where they're just throwing as much shit against the wall to see what sticks, and you don't know about it until after it's already stuck for long enough and then falls off. Like you actually brought it up that like maybe they're putting out too many books. It's Marvel's
they definitely
problem.
are.
But that's one of the reasons why shows like ours are great, George, because like we'll go back and read. Like I've been rediscovering DC Rebirth. Turns out there are a lot of good books during the Rebirth era of DC that I totally just passed on.
That was what got me back into comics. I took like a 5-year break, and then Rebirth happened. I was like, holy shit, this is what I was looking for. Yeah.
Do any of them beat Knock Knock, Mr. Lover?
All right, we got to take
point,
a commercial.
That Mr. Freeze story is like one of the best things DC's put out in the last 5 years. Like,
we got to take a commercial break. So we'll be right back with more of Shop Talk here on the Last Comic Shop podcast right after these commercial break. Hopefully this will work.
Yeah. Knock knock, commercial lover.
Hey fellas, looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture goodies, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCS Pod at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD.
Time.
All right. Hopefully everybody saw the commercial for bcwsupplies.com. Use our promo code LCSPOD. Get yourself 10% off that stuff you're going to be buying anyways. The bags, boards, boxes, all kinds of miscellaneous comic book bric-a-brac. So.
My favorite is the dividers. That's what I usually go to LCS Pod for.
Now, speaking of dividers, one thing that you might need for our Chad is some dividers, because Chad is undergoing an odyssey right now of cataloging his vast collection into CLZ. So, Chad, you want to give us an update on how things have been going this past week?
Here, hold on. Let me press the button on the app. Let's sync.
You went with it. I'm so happy.
So, it's changes to be downloaded 4,205. I was joking with my pals. It's been 3 weeks since I've been on the CLZ. I have not done anything in my life as consistently as I have been scanning and cataloging comic books, jettisoning my doubles, mostly. There's a couple that have stuck in there, but they're going off to a place not to be named because I really don't know what I'm going to do with them. Okay. But eventually I'll figure that out.
Real quickly, Chad, when you talk about doubles, do you consider having the direct market and the newsstand to be a double? Because I'm not. I'm counting them as two different comics and putting them like back to back in my little comic bag board.
That's a great question.
That's absolutely a double, but I wouldn't get rid if I had both.
It's totally a double.
It's not. One has one cover. One has another. You wouldn't say a variant has.
It's not a variant. It's like
a variant.
It's a barcode versus like a
no
little logo. Like it's not a variant.
Evidently, the newsstand copies are more valuable because it's
'Cause they
harder to
should have been-
find one
No,
in a
because
good,
well,
better
that because they
condition.
should have been beaten to shit because they were newsstands.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would rip the covers off of them and pulp them, so that
Yeah.
Oh man, that was the first time I read X-Men or New X-Men 114, whatever, like the first arc, like the first issue of the Grant Morrison. I was in an airport in like New Zealand, and I just saw that they had comic books on the floor there, and I was reading a book that turned out to be that X-Men book, but they ripped the fucking cover off.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they would mail
Unbelievable.
those back. What, Mikey? Was it your uncle or somebody had a newsstand?
my granddad. Yeah, my granddad. did.
Granddad.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that they were doing it for such a long time that and we saw one of these, or I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the our friend Jacob, who's a back issue guy who does the shows. He had a couple copies of these kinds of books, but what they used to do in like the 40s, 30s and 40s and stuff is that you would pull the covers off of them, mail them back, and then they would, a lot of times these companies would take those mailed back issues and shove them in a cover and sell those. So you'd have like these thicker books that were just a collection of things that didn't sell the month before or something like that. So you can find an issue, like you can find an issue of like whatever it's called, weird, I don't know, like a Western or whatever. And you'll find the same issue, the same covers with different guts because they varied.
I was going to ask if it was consistent across the board, like
No,
if there was somebody making sure.
Yeah, they varied off. They often varied. So yeah. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. But yeah, that's my first comic reading stuff was my granddad. He used to stack the comics he had a rack on the side, and he would stack them by height. So like Heavy Metal magazine was like up at the top,
Right?
so that kids couldn't reach him. You know.
Yeah.
So
Makes
I used to take stacks of newspapers, like bundles of newspapers, and stack them on top of each other and climb up on top of it and grab the porn ones. but yeah, but like it was like Archie, Superman, Spider-Man, you know. So a lot of my early books were like Little Red Hot and Casper and Richie Rich and things like that. You know, until G.I. Joe and Transformers came out. That was kind of like what pulled me in and you know, went from there. And 1986 changed everything.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
Man, I've been reading that Transformers compendium through Hoopla
Mhm.
of like the early Transformers comics.
They were
Man,
silly.
They were so silly.
They were super
really
silly.
enjoyable stuff.
I was gonna nice segue back to Chad. Now, have you gotten to like the Marvel versions of G.I. Joe Transformers? Are you still in the indie?
so well, that's a great question. So the way I have my book set up, my top shelf is Marvel, my middle shelf is Marvel, and that segues into G.I. Joe and Rob Liefeld stuff, like all the Maximum Press and all the awesome comics and all that kind of stuff. Then it goes DC, then Indies underneath. So I've made it up into I'm saving my Marvel stuff for last, but the Marvel G.I. Joe is in. That's also lumped together with my IDW G.I. Joe and my DDP G.I. Joe. The same with Transformers. So Indies are in. Most of DC is in. And Marvel, I just started. I did Fantastic Four, and I'm into the X books.
Mm. Yeah,
But-
these are great. These are great. They're
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Those compendiums, yeah.
you could kill somebody with it because it's like
Have you started to go insane, Chad? I know I texted you a couple times this week, and it seemed like you were training to run a marathon or something. Like,
Dude, yeah. And so I was going to talk to it, and I'm not sure how keened in everybody is to all this fun stuff, but the CLZ has got me paying more attention to things like the barcodes and like how to read the barcodes. And so now with the newsstand editions versus the direct editions, there's not really a difference. One will have the barcode and one will have a picture or something else in there. But as you get into modern books, you have to start looking for the variant covers and the variant printings, and it's all in that code itself. So like I've got a couple of Wonder Womans here. Issue 20, you can see the 20 and then a bunch of ones. That indicates this is issue 20, the first cover, and then the last number is the printing. So this is the first print. Whereas for this issue, it's 21. It's the second cover in the first print. If that were the second print, that number would be a 2. But when you get into the CLZ, not only do you see the alternate covers, which has always been a thing for me, because like there's some books, like I just pulled this Monsters book, the Mark Spears Monsters, that has 17 different cover options in there.
Jeez.
Ridiculous.
But in CLZ, you can go through and see all those different covers, which is super cool. But they break it down even further. There's, you know, the Canadian price variation. There's the facsimile this version, the facsimile that version. And you can see all that stuff. And one of the neatest things, there's a book I have, or not a book, I brought a preliminary page of a Rob Liefeld Teen Titans book a few years back, where it's like his rough sketches that he turned into the pages themselves.
Okay.
And so sure, I had a copy of that issue, but now I discovered there's a Baltimore Comic-Con exclusive cover out there for Teen Titans 27 that now I have to go back and find, because that's part of that issue, but I have the preliminary page for it, and it's just out there somewhere. And
Now-
I didn't even know it existed.
Now you are putting in these grades. Now that's one thing I haven't done with my CLC, because I have 3 grades, right? I have keeper, which is like, this is a beautiful copy, don't even touch it, just leave it there, it's probably worth money. Then I have a reader, which is pretty much the bulk of my, you know, and then I have junkers, which are just like, they're usually placeholders, and they're usually older issues. I'm just like, until I get a better copy, this is my placeholder for the complete set. But you're actually like 9s and 6s. How do you do this? How do you do this?
I was just talking to some of the guys that run some of our local comic shops. I am a terrible grader, first and foremost.
You're a teacher.
I know. And I'm bad at grading on both ends of the spectrum. So for all of my like new books, I put them in at 9.4s at best, because like everybody knows that a 9.8 is the highest quality book out there for reasons I don't understand. But like I open my books, I look at the pictures, I do all that other stuff. So even if it's brand new and I haven't read it yet, when I put my Justice League versus King Kong 2, I'll put it in as a 9.4. And if I go and press it someday, maybe it'll get that better grade.
That is also what I do, by the way.
What's that?
Put it in as a 9.2. If I get a book directly from a shop, it's like an automatic 9.4. And then if I get like a books, because I subscribe to a lot of books from Marvel directly, which are mailed to me in frankly not awesome condition. Those are, I do consider like my reader books. I'll put those in as like a stock 8.5. Just I'm like, okay, like I'm going to lowball myself here and then be pleasantly surprised. I think they're higher than 8.5, but like just so I know where I'm getting this book from. But then anything I get directly from a shop that comes in a bag and board, that's an automatic 9.4 to me.
So there you go. But I don't put anything in over 9.4.
No.
So even my top end books, my creme de la cremes are all going in 9.4s. Now on the other side of things, and this is what I was talking about today with the guy at the shop, my low end books, I'm so easy on my low end books. I'm like, oh, that cover's still attached. That's a 6.5 at least.
Wow.
And
like,
so
even like the ones that have the ratty corners and stuff, you're still putting it into 6.
Oh, the spine ticks and So, but
like
I
a 4, a 2.
Some kid filled out the crossword puzzle on the back cover. Like, nah, it's still a 6.
Unless there's visible water damage and things are torn. But honestly, what I'll do, because I did this today, I was going through my New Mutants, which New Mutants is one of those books that I've had since I was 10 years old, right? I've been collecting New Mutants books since then. And so I go through and I look at them, I eyeball them, I say, all right, these ones are good. These would still get that 9.4 grade. These are, pristine. And then most of them are not in that category. My other ones that were still really good go in my 8 pile. And then I get into my 7.5s and then my 6.5s. And I had like one Bill Sienkiewicz issue. It's the first Guido, where like the cover's barely attached. And I think I gave that one a 5. But like I have to go through and it's like, well, 25 issues are 7.5s and 24 issues are 8s and 40 issues are this. and then you go through, you put them in one at a time, and then you hope you hit the right buttons, and voila. But that way I'll know, like when I go to the shop, because one thing I would always do, if issue 29 of New Mutants is my junker, I'd always be like, what issue do I have that's bad again? Like if I see a good one, and then I'd always end up buying an extra copy of issue 30. And then I come home and be like, I've got 2 decent issue 30s now, and my 29's still junky.
Yeah.
But the one thing you do, Andy, that I do not, is you are putting in where your comics go in your collection.
Yeah. Which is frustrating because, look, I've been buying short boxes with certain characters and trying to put the books that correspond to those boxes in those, like I'll buy an X-Men box and I'll be like, oh, these are all my X-Men books, because I don't have the vast collection that you or Mikey or George do. I'm probably short end of the stick when it comes to that. But I don't know what to do with like all my indies. Like I end up just getting like white nondescript boxes, so I have to draw like a 1 on it, a 2, a 3, and I'm just like, they're still randomly put in there because like I can't fill up a whole box of like my Doctor Who's, which take up like this much. So what do I put them with? Star Wars, Flash Gordon? Are they all sci-fi? So that's a sci-fi family.
Yeah, licensed comics.
I get, yeah. But that's mostly my indie collection. I don't have actually a lot of other indie books that aren't licensed material, to be honest.
So that is something with CLZ that I expected to go away. That actually it's just reinforced, because I too will have a lot of different books that go in a lot of different places. But instead of putting it in my CLZ, because sometimes, like, once you get so many Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, they're going to need their own box. And then you're going to have to shift the other things. Your Usagi Yojimbos are going to have to go somewhere else. You can't lump them in with the Turtles anymore. I have rekindled my love of spreadsheets. And so here is
Hell yeah.
79 boxes. Oh, wait, no. What's the last?
I thought you were going to get that. You're paying like $20 a year to get rid of the spreadsheets. And now you're like,
here's 87 boxes down one side. And then you can see inside the boxes or which books are in there.
Spreadsheets are free. Yeah.
When I need to switch them up, I can easily move that. And then you know what else I adjust after I move them? The Post-it note that I put on the front of the box. It says what books are inside.
Yeah.
It's super lo-fi.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go through mine and because I don't have mine filed alphabetically, really. I have mine filed like by so like I have like Zorro, Lone Ranger, Green Hornet, and then the Green Hornet Shadow crossover, and then the Shadow, and then like this the
like
it's
sense.
like it's like characters, and all my Hellboy comics are
Mikey. That's my box number 10, by the way. It's Lone Ranger,
awesome.
Zorro, Green Hornet.
It's awesome, and all my Hellboy books are arranged by the year that the story takes place, because they all take, so it's chronological. Like you can read it as it. So, but one thing I wanted to show that's interesting is like you guys were talking about condition and things like that. I got a bunch of these adventure comics with the Legion in it, because I'm all of a sudden from out of nowhere I'm a Legion guy. But I had a choice of, I have a couple where the covers have fallen off, and I'm going to like recover them. Honestly, I'm going to get it. I'm going to scan the old cover, print a new version of it, cut it out, and staple the new version, because I don't give a shit. I'm not going to resell I'm not going to resell them. I'm not concerned about it. But I had a choice between 2 versions of this issue that I'm going to show you. It's number 351. Adventure Comics 350, 1960 something, and I chose this version in particular because whatever kid owned it first drew a beard on Superboy. So, right, destroys any value that it might have had. It's beat to shit, so it's not really worth anything anyway. But some person who is somebody's grandfather, or maybe even deceased, drew a beard on this Superman. Like I have one where the kid wrote was kind of wrote his name in cursive on the cover of it. Just some people will look at that and be like, oh shit, somebody wrote on it. I don't.
I love this.
I do. Somebody owned it before me. It has traveled.
There you go. It's an artifact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I was digging in the bins probably a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, as I am wont to do. And I found for the very first time, they sell those blank sketch covers?
Yeah.
Someone drew their own Johnny Quest and Space Ghost on a blank sketch cover of Future Quest #1. The picture is terrible. Terrible. But I love it. And it's, it's not a commercial artist. I'm fairly certain. If it is, it was not their best day.
I wonder if I could show you guys. That's funny that you should. I got a text through Facebook from a friend of mine that doesn't really send me DMs very often. So I thought, oh God, did somebody we know die or something like that? No. But he, where is it? He sent me this picture because he was somewhere in the world going through back issues, and I don't know if we could see, if the folks at home can see that. I don't know. But that is a sketch
Edgar Allan Poe?
That's Poe Dameron, Edgar Allan Poe, Poe Dameron. That's my sketch cover. I drew that.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Where's my signature? There's my signature, Mikey.
Edgar Allan Poe Dameron is very good. That is a very good pun.
That was from 2017. I drew that. It's sitting in some comic shop somewhere for $30. So yeah.
No
Your
Poe Dameron
art.
comic is worth $30. That's awesome.
I mean, I
Well,
charged.
it's not without the Mikey Wood cover, of course.
I can't remember who bought it, but I charged them like $40 for it, 40 or 50 for it. So it's, but
so it lost value actually.
It did. I lost value.
Ixnay on the lost value lane.
No, but yeah, man, that's pretty cool, and it's fun because I'll do that. Like I'll look to see if any of like the Ashcan comics that I did back in like 2004 and stuff pop up on eBay, and they do. Like every so often they're up on eBay. And there was one time where like it was a copy of this I did this anthology with a bunch of friends of mine that was called Tales from Kirby's Diner, and it's terrible.
Which I found in the dollar bin. Your dollar bin famous, buddy.
That's right. That book. Did you buy that book or did you?
I did. Yeah. No, it's filed in my Independence. In my indie mix box.
Here's something about that book is that there's a story in there called The Lady Killers by a guy who ended up actually killing his girlfriend later on, years later. So it's a collector's item. Yeah. But yeah, I saw it on eBay for like $3 and I was like, no, I don't have one. So I went ahead and bought it from eBay. So, but yeah, I know, it's so funny how things, but yeah, those things are charming. Like finding a sketch cover that some kid did, or finding something that somebody wrote their name on, or whatever. And it's like,
I think Chad showed me. It was one of those Dallas comic books, and somebody did the word find inside, but it was terrible. We had a
poor
good laugh
dumb
about
kid.
Yeah.
Could not handle that word search.
One dumb question. You know how like a bunch of Marvel books, I think every Marvel book now has like the digital code you can redeem?
Yeah.
Do you redeem them?
We used to.
Yeah, back in the day we did, yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. When back when Comixology was Comixology.
Back when it was good.
Yeah. Before Amazon. Yeah. There were reasons why you did that. So not gonna say anything more than that.
Yeah, you guys all shared a login is what I'm gathering. So
ahoy, Captain.
I will say this. One thing that I was really sad about with my CLZ this week is that I didn't put a lot of my hardbacks and collections, my omnibuses and things in there yet, because I got the chance to go to the Fantagraphics bookstore and gallery in downtown Seattle. And they had the 4th volume of a book called Captain Easy. And I couldn't remember whether I was missing volume 4 or volume
you sent
3.
Me a text to break into your house to return your garbage cans, but not to see if you have Captain Easy volume 4? What the hell, man?
You bought it
I was
anyway,
only going to be there for a half an hour. The kids were already getting restless. So it turns out that I should have bought it because it was the volume I was missing, but I would have known that. And my brother was with me at the time, and he even said to me, he's like, "Don't you have that in your CLZ?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't get to that part of my collection yet."
Dave's
But
dropping the hammer. I
let
won't
me-
get to trades and omnibuses for
let
another
me-
year and a half.
Let me show you what I did pick up. I did pick up 3 books. It's an awesome little store. If you ever get an opportunity to go out there, not only do they have like a main bookstore, but they have like a back section where you can buy things that are discounted.
I thought you said it was Seattle, not Maine.
Waka waka. Yeah.
So first off, I got a copy of Santos Sisters.
Nice.
If you're a fan of the Last Comic Shop podcast, you'll hear sometimes the actual ad for this book in our commercial breaks. Really great guys, Greg and Fake, and they're from Philadelphia, so still not Pennsylvania boys, just like us. So it was neat to see that. So I got that.
Wait, does it have the ads? Don't we have an advertisement in one of their issues?
Those are actually in the single issues. I'd have to take a look if they included the ads in the reprint. But there is a full page ad in their upcoming for the Last Comic Shop. So
Real.
yeah, they were super supportive and really great guys.
Which Eisner nominated, by the way. Eisner nominated.
I got some Steve Ditko, Impossible
what's that?
Tales. Ooh.
Is that Norman Osborn screaming?
It does look like him.
That looks like a body I just saw on an episode of NCIS. That's great art.
So these are primarily from a lot of books he did in the late 50s. Things like strange suspense stories and mysteries of unexplored worlds and out of this world. But neat art. Like,
do they explain the mystery of how Norman Osborn's hair works?
No.
Okay.
The last book, this was actually for my brother Ethan, who often appears on the Last Comic Shop. They had a huge collection of their Mickey Mouse comics. This was the Ice Sword Saga, and this was one I did pick up in the back because it had the little red dot. So great place. If you ever get out to the Seattle area, you should check them out. They do have our sticker. They did not put it on the register like Golden Age Collectibles did in Pikes
Peak in Colorado.
Yeah.
No.
Pikes something. It's the Pikes Market.
From Real World where they would throw the fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what the significance of that.
That is the world's oldest comic shop. It started in 1964, I think, and didn't have a lot of back issues, but it was definitely a comic book shop that folks that are walking along this boardwalk or getting, trinkets from place, they would go in there. Massive collection of trade paperbacks, manga. They even had scripts. You could buy scripts like to Doctor Who episodes and things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen
awesome.
that place. Okay, I've seen several ads for scripts on like Facebook and Instagram, and I've always wanted to just, oh shit, Pulp Fiction, oh shit, Shawshank Redemption, oh shit, other movies from 1994 for whatever
That was
reason. Like,
when I worked in the library in college, how I passed my time is going on the internet and reading movie scripts.
yeah.
Because hashtag why not?
So I feel like between those two places, I got a solid comic book experience there in Seattle. So there you go.
I'm thinking about actually deleting every book I've entered into CLZ and starting over. Like I have it, I'm subscribed to it, I really like it, but I feel like I did it in partitions, and I don't remember what I added and what I didn't add, and so like I'm afraid I'm going to add doubles to books that I don't actually have doubles to. So like I had a whole bunch of books that I bought in high school and college. I left those at my dad's house, and then I had all the books that I've started buying in San Francisco when I got more into comics, and then I had to mail those back. And I've added some of those, but not all of them. And so like part of me wants to just like clear my entire collection, start over, and then like really focus on organizing things well. I also want to explore it. Like I've never done this, but like create a new collection in my CLZ app. And like, that's where I put my trades. I don't want that like mixed in with my single issues, just so I can keep track of trades a little bit better. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like the new collection?
I'm curious about this because I feel like when it comes to doubles, I'm gonna have a lot.
Sure.
Like just over the years, I have problems, and so I just buy things. But it's like, how do I organize that in a way that it's not mucking up my traditional collection, but at the same time, I still want that notification that says, no, that's a double, just in case I don't have it in my normal stack. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, no, it does make sense. But I'm at the point too where I'm like, do I really need all of these books? Like I've got, as you can see from the spot behind me, like I've got so much shit. I don't need all of it. I've also like been kind of open to the idea of like moving to fucking Ireland or Scotland recently. Don't ask why. Just weird
why?
shit
I
going
mean,
weird shit going on
well,
in
why not?
where I live, where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to live here that much longer, to be honest. So I'm just like, do I really need these books? Like, do I really need like that?
George, we love you, man.
Do I really need that 18-issue Green Arrow run from 2009? I'm like, I don't know that I do actually. Like, should I? Can I get?
It was a good run. Is that the one with the jock art?
Not that one. That was the year one. But I'm like, oh, the Cliff Chiang art.
I love Cliff Chiang. I didn't read that. I need to check that out.
I'm like, do I need that one really? Especially if it's all available on DC Infinite Unlimited, which I'm subscribed to. Like, do I really need the physical copies? So I'm gonna do that. I have 30 empty short boxes that I've like moved all the books into like these little shelves, these drawers right behind me, and like I'm probably gonna go through and just pick out like completed collections and start putting those into the short boxes again, and just figuring out if I really want to hold on to them or not.
There you go.
Reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, if I ever croak, it's like I hope somebody would know to give Cheryl some kind of decent deal on all my comics and get them out of here, because
that's what CLZ can. That's what CLZ is great for. Is that like having a value, and then also like negotiating insurance rates, because your comic collection is valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't grade my comics at all. Like I don't worry about that. It's like I don't give a damn, and I don't have a ton of things that are worth much money to I don't have key books and I read comics that I like, I don't buy, and a lot of key books honestly are kind of shitty issues of the book. Like they kind of are like the first appearance of Deadpool is an absolute garbage issue of a I'm sorry, first appearance of like so many first appearances.
He's getting mad.
No, but so many first appearances are really dumb. Like they're just really like inconsequential and dumb. It just so happens that it's like
keep going. You're doing great. Yeah.
No. But I mean, like what's another one that was really kind of lame? Like there are some that are good. Like the first.
What else did Rob Liefeld do? Yeah, sure. Let's start there.
There's not just Liefeld, but that's just as an example because that's a big money book.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
But like the just because of Deadpool. But like for instance, this issue.
That's also first Gideon.
Oh, that's right.
Domino.
That's why it's worth the money, is the Gideon. But there's an issue of Robotech 2 The Sentinels Volume 2.
I'm hunting for you, buddy. I'm hunting.
It's issue number 13, right? Or something like that. Or
14.
14. And that's a dollar bin book. Like you can find them in except for that one stupid issue because there's an advertisement for Spawn in it. That's it. It's apparently the first appearance of Spawn in an advert. That drives me crazy. It drives me so crazy because it's like, this is a shit book that I just need to complete my Robotech collection. Like it's not, so infuriating. But anyway, yeah.
So 2 things before we move on.
Mm.
One, as George was alluding to, that is the nice part about CLZ, and it's one of those things where, like, I'm gonna give my password to my kiddo, not the wife, because I don't want her to know how many books I have.
Yeah.
But the kiddo will get the password in case something happens to me, because then he'll know, like, oh, okay, in this box, these are the books that are worth, making sure that I take those and do something special with them. Like, I have a friend who may or may not have bought a comic shop recently, who will go to flea markets, and he's a wheeler and a dealer, and he'll say, oh, I'll take all that, I'll give you $1 a book for that whole box, and it's 400 books, and people will sell him those things. But today he sent me a message where he was like, this guy, I looked inside and it had a whole bunch of these Secret Wars books, and he's like, I looked up number 1, it was worth 40 or 50 bucks. I was like, cool. I was like, oh, do you have Secret Wars number 8? Because unless you know about comic books, you might not know that Secret Wars number 8, the first appearance of the alien symbiote, in, as Mikey alluded to, a stupid scene where Spider-Man's like, I'm gonna get a costume out of this machine.
Out of this vending machine, yeah.
Yeah. Is a key issue in the Marvel Universe lexicon. It's worth a ton of money. And so I was asking him, like, oh, do you have that one? He's like, well, I know I had number 1 because people know to look for number 1s, but he didn't know about number 8. And then of course he texts me later on, and he's like, so I looked in the box. I had Secret Wars 1 through 6, 9, 10, and 11, and 2 copies of issue 8. And I'm like, you don't even know what the hell you're doing. But he didn't have 7 or 12 for whatever reason. I told him 12 has a killer cover. It has the face of Doom on it. I traded those 8.
Is that the one where he's like, his armor's like melted? Oh no, it's the
10 is the one with the melted armor.
The maskless Doom, right? Like the
Secret Wars
Victor.
Secret Wars 1 is really worth $40.
Yeah,
sure. Why not?
So
it's an important comic.
It is.
I bought all 12 together for $80 back in 2006. That was a lot of money.
Would you, if you found like Crisis of Infinite Earths number 1 and it was $40, that's reasonable?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've gotten that out of the buck bins.
I bought the collection. I bought all 12 for $40.
Yeah.
I think I paid about that for all 12.
Well, then
I paid 10 for issue 7 with the.
That's
generally,
weird.
honestly,
All right, never mind.
Generally speaking, unless they're super old, Marvel books from like that era, the 80s and stuff, are more expensive than DC ones. There's not really, like.
I really think that's just because like, oh, X-Men, I know what the X-Men are in a way that like I don't know what the fuck the Justice Society is.
Right.
Like just for like the average person, like
Honestly,
you're paying a tax for how popular something is, like how well known something is.
Well, so like I feel like Batman and Superman are DC books that have big followings, but then it just gets outnumbered on the Marvel side because you get those X-Men books and everybody loves the X-Men books. You get the Spider-Man books and everybody loves the Spider-Man books, and it just seems like there are more known quantities on the Marvel side.
And like would I don't know if this is. I was going to say would like say Deadpool. Would it be that much? Would it be worth that much if it weren't for the movies? Probably, but like
that one was as soon as it came out. Like like Deadpool, Cable.
I mean, I sold mine for like $150 or something, so I'm not going to complain about it. But because I subscribed to the book back then, I did. It's true.
No,
yeah, but I have a letter printed in issue something 12. Whatever the
issue 10.
Whatever the issue, a couple issues after the Mike Mignola one. The one, it's the purple guy and the other guy wrestling on the cover.
Oh, the Elementals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's not 11. It might be 12. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere along there. But anyway, like I find that they're more they're pricier for whatever reason, because like Secret Wars and I would say Secret Wars and Crisis are they were. Secret Wars came out earlier, like a month or two earlier, maybe a year, I can't remember. But like I think they're both equally important for either company.
Yeah.
But the Secret Wars books are like way more expensive than I expected, and I don't like the story as much. It's fun, but I don't like it as much as I do Crisis. But
They are like such equal but opposite stories.
yeah,
One is we're going to tell this super important, convoluted story that wraps up our entire history. And the other one is like, we're going to bang the toys together.
yeah.
Yeah.
They really are. And that actually, what's funny is that that's almost a microcosm of the companies themselves at the time, because one was, often overly complicated with their history in the multiverse and this and that and the blah, 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 blah. And the other one was like, Spider-Man punches a guy. It's like
Suck it, Fire Lord.
Yeah, like they were like more fun, I guess, less of a history. I mean, you figure there's 30 years of history that the other one had prior to the one coming out, and a lot of that history was really kiddie. Like a lot of those Silver Age books are really, really.
Well, one thing I'll say about Secret Wars before we go to commercial break, I don't like the characters sometimes in the original Secret Wars. Look, you don't get the Tony Stark Iron Man. No, you don't get
You
the
don't like
Hulk.
Rhodey?
I like Rhodey, but it's just like you don't get Invisible Woman.
Doesn't sound like it.
All of a sudden, she's like, and then you get the Hulk that isn't as strong because he's not savage. He's got like the brain of Bruce Banner, and like, I don't know.
It was not the Donny Cates version where Banner's driving his brain.
I think it's kind of a dumb story all around, but some characters have really cool. Like Doom is really good in Secret Wars.
Doom is the best.
Molecule Man, and
Galactus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great moments in Secret Wars. Like the story itself might be oversimplified. But
my favorite part of that whole story is that last issue where Dr. Doom keeps on zapping Captain America away, and he just keeps on coming back, and Dr. Doom's like, I just can't do this. Like, I can't get rid of this guy. I can't get rid of them. Like, they just keep coming. And it's because at the end of the day, Dr. Doom's flawed and he doesn't want to win. I always said that, and I'll say that till the end of time. Dr. Doom's biggest flaw isn't the fact that he is, too grandiose or too full of himself.
Because he wears a miniskirt. Oh.
No, he doesn't want to win.
It's a tunic.
He just
miniskirt.
Wants the chase.
He's wearing the exact same thing that Jean Grey is wearing in the early issues of the X-Men. It's just he's wearing it the other way around.
Andy, you're right. He doesn't want to actually rule the world. He wants to prove that he can take over the world.
Exactly. He just wants the thrill and the fight. And after he wins the fight, he's like, well, this was dumb. I gotta lose
he's just
somehow
like, that's why
so
we
I
played.
can do it again.
No, we played all 48 minutes in the NBA, so now I want to go home. I won the game. It's over.
Like I just picture him sitting on his throne, just like so bored, and he's just like, "Bring me some Doom bots," and he's just like zapping them.
All right, here's our commercial break. We'll be right back with more of The Last Comic Shop right after this. We're going to be talking about the episode that's out now on podcasting services, as well as take a look at the episode that'll be coming out on Tuesday. So we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Hey fellas, looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture goodies, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCS Pod at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD.
How much time do we have for our commercial?
Oh, I'm back.
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby.
We're back.
So you just saw again LCSPOD. Use it at checkout over at bcwsupplies.com. Save yourself 10% on awesome things like bags and boxes and bric-a-brac. We did just see the 2 episodes that we'll be talking about to wrap up today's episode. And it's going to be the episode that's out now, which is this Captain America Castaway in Dimension Z. Hopefully everybody's taken a listen to it. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because we're having some difficulty getting folks to vote on our final 4 ice cream flavors. I posted it, and evidently Threads is not a great place for anybody to vote on anything. So I thought I'd throw it out here. On this little foursome, we are going to take the 4 remaining flavors and duke it out and decide who the winner is. Okay? So the 4 flavors were, on one side of the bracket, you had vanilla versus cookies and cream. And on the other side, you have chocolate versus butter pecan. So let's talk about the first one. Vanilla versus cookies and cream, George.
Like, obviously vanilla is going to win because this is like a rigged system that we're working with here. But cookie dough is just vanilla ice cream with more shit in it. Like, what's not to love about cookie dough?
Well, it's
cookies. It's like
and
Oreo.
cream. That's the Oreo stuff.
Even better.
Okay, then thank you, Mikey. Even better.
So
it's just super vanilla ice cream against vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So he says cookies and cream, Chad.
I'm gonna go cookies and cream as well. Why not? It's fun. It's gritty. We live in a grim and gritty age.
That's right.
Mikey?
I like cookies and cream because it looks like city snow, but it tastes delicious. You know when it snows and it's got chunks of blacktop in it in the city. It looks like it's badass, but it's so sweet. So it's like, it's like me. Like I look badass, but I'm sweet.
Oh.
That's
well, I was going to vote for vanilla, but it doesn't matter because 3-1, I'm getting voted out of this.
Did you ever get the regular vanilla bean where it's like, what the hell is this? Give me the French vanilla with the tongue.
Yeah.
Does cookies and cream scare you or something? I mean, like,
no, vanilla was the reason why I like vanilla is because it's the Bruce Lee of flavors. Like, again,
no, it's not.
You put it in a root beer float, it becomes a root beer float. You put strawberry sundae or strawberry syrup on it, it becomes a strawberry sundae.
It's more like Paul Giamatti than it is like.
No, but he like the water quote.
I know
the water quote. It becomes whatever you want it to be.
That's right.
And I think it's.
No, I agree. That was a dumb metaphor, Mikey.
Whatever. All right. On the other side, we have chocolate versus butter pecan.
Butter pecan? Are you fucking kidding me? That made the final 4.
Oh, I love butter pecan. It's
Did
like
you
pecan
lose a bet with your grandparents, and that's why it's incled? Like, are we? Is that why it's here?
They just had it out for White House cherry. There was like a burning of the wastes. Like there was like slash and burn. Somehow cherry flavored stuff had to go down after last year's last soda shop. So. Yeah. So we'll start with Mikey. Chocolate, butter pecan.
I'm sorry. I'm showing my age and going with butter pecan, man. It's nuts and butter. I mean, how could you go wrong? like right?
Nuts and butter.
It's nut butter. No, man, like it's so good. It's so tasty. It was my dad's favorite, other than if it wasn't mint chocolate chip. It was butter pecan. So,
mint chocolate chip represent. I was actually very upset with how you guys were talking about.
That's so dumb. Like it's dumb that vanilla. It's so stupid that vanilla and chocolate made it that far. What kind of boring? Of course, it's Pittsburgh.
All right, Chad.
I'm just going chocolate. I like chocolate. It's good.
Yeah. All right, George.
The answer is obviously chocolate.
Ah,
Yeah, it's chocolate. Chocolate's moving on.
I will take ice cream with stuff in it before I take just plain ordinary ice cream any day.
Okay, sure.
Well, you enjoy your butts and nuts in your ice cream. I'm gonna just enjoy my chocolate ice cream.
So here's our finals.
But not at the same
Chocolate,
time.
cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Mikey says cookies and cream.
Absolutely.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's got stuff in it.
That was too
Chad,
fast.
That was too. Yeah, I've got to think on this.
George.
I don't. The answer is clearly chocolate. Chocolate is
Okay.
the best thing to have ever happened to ice cream ever.
I'll go cookies and cream because
Yeah, me too.
it's-
So now what happens?
Oh,
Do we make them kiss?
Make
You
it kiss.
old idiots. You old
I'm like,
bitches. This is like when I go to Newsarama and they're like, people voted on the 25 best Marvel comics of all time, and like nothing's come out in the last 25 fucking years. It's just like the same stupid opinion, held by the same
Because
stupid
it's all
old
the
people.
same boring Chip Zdarsky stuff that's been told.
All right.
chocolate
That's what happened. It's cookies and cream. Cookies and cream won the whole thing.
cream.
Yeah, right?
I would accept chocolate ice cream if it was in the form of Heavenly Hash or Rocky Road. Heavenly Hash you can't find anywhere, but Rocky
Yeah,
Road.
you guys, honestly, you sounded like aliens when you were talking about Rocky Road. Like, is it Ethan who was on the episode?
No, Ethan
Ethan
loves
is an
Rocky
alien.
Road.
No,
I
No, but
have
like there
never
was some
eaten it.
ice cream flavor. Like, I don't know if I've ever had that. I'm like, how the fuck is that possible? Like, you've never just been like curious at a 7-Eleven and like with $6 in your wallet. Like that never crossed your mind to
Hey.
try this ice cream.
I
flavor?
just like
Marshmallow and ice
Stories of
cream
George
scares
being
me.
curious at the 7-Eleven.
On
No,
here-
$6 in his pocket.
Yeah, I'll write that anthology. But there were so many talking points where I was like, is this fucking real life? Like, is this like if you just like never
yeah.
you just
I'm
never
on
taken
that.
like a risk on an ice cream flavor before?
Cheryl had to come downstairs and ask me why I kept screaming rum raisin over and over and over again. She was like, "Why are you screaming rum raisin? What is are you having a stroke? Like what's wrong with you?"
Yeah,
And
I never get to use this word. I was like apoplectic. Like I was like beside
Oh,
myself.
wow.
That's so many syllables.
She's so
Yeah, I
smart
was like
for-
outside, like smoking a cigarette, like pacing back and forth. I'm like, I can't fucking believe these
I
guys.
am
Like, I look
so
like Roy
glad
Scheider. I
Our
look like Roy Scheider in
podcast
Jaws.
has this
I was
effect on you.
I will say
losing my mind.
that happened to me with our old podcast. I was mowing my grass and we had some guests on, and I'm like, "That's the dumbest effing thing I've ever heard."
Yeah.
And then like 2 minutes later in the podcast, I came in late. And I'm like, "That's the dumbest effing thing I've ever heard."
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
like-
thank God, I spoke my mind. Yeah.
How I need to just voice something. How in a world where half-baked and fish food exists does chocolate get to the end or vanilla get to how
No,
does that even
no
happen?
free ads. That's how, Mikey.
Oh, I see.
Drugs.
Ben
I
and
don't
Jerry,
know.
I'm sorry, Ben and Jerry's could make an ice cream cone.
I wanted White House cherry. I wanted
I lived
orange
in
sherbet.
I don't
Burlington.
want anything with the words White House in it right now.
I lived in Burlington for 5 years. I'm a huge Ben and Jerry's proponent. I got the Vermonster, which is like 20 scoops of ice cream in the bucket.
Yeah.
Oh,
with
Did
3
you live here
friends.
back when Rainforest Crunch was a thing? That
Don't
was
remember.
good. Rainforest Crunch and Wavy Gravy were like two of the best flavors that I've ever had, and they retired them.
That
And, like,
was
so sad.
So
back when I was
need more
experimenting
details.
with
Cherry
liquids
Garcia.
and plants, so I
Isn't
don't
cherry?
remember
I think
every
Cherry
ice cream
Garcia
flavor.
is the same thing as.
Sure, yeah.
White House cherry, basically.
Yeah.
Fish food is hands down my number one though. That shit
Fish
is
food's
so
awesome.
good.
And Chubby Hubby was really good too. I don't know if they make that.
Chubby Hubby was great. Yeah, as someone who like especially hates Fish, the band.
Oh, yeah.
I do not like jam bands.
I prefer the
Fish food was
Tonight
incredible.
Dough,
Yeah, Tonight Dough's great.
and
Yeah.
I'm not a big Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I'm
guy.
I'm not into jam bands either. I don't have an hour and a half to listen to one song. Like I just don't. I don't
No.
have that. You know, I don't.
All right, we
I-
got to wrap these
No,
things up.
last thing about jam bands though. I host pub trivia, and the other day I referred to Tool as heavy metal jam band.
Yeah, it is.
I thought there was gonna be a fucking riot at the bar. I thought people were gonna start throwing their
Tool
beer
guys are
bottles at
like,
me.
don't
Yeah,
say
they're-
anything about Tool.
they're
all
weird
crazy.
people,
Yeah.
yeah.
We take all kinds here, guys. But yeah,
I mean, we love everybody. We accept.
Okay. All right. So this Tuesday, the upcoming episode of the Last Comic Shop podcast that you can get by just going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing on any of those myriad of podcasting platforms, including YouTube, where you're watching this live stream, I hope. We're going to be having kind of a rerun of sorts. The movie Old Guard 2 dropped on Netflix a couple days ago with Charlize Theron. A lot of folks don't know that was based on a comic book.
Greg Rucka, right?
And so, yeah, Greg Rucka and I can't remember the artist off the top of my head. But long story short, way back when Old Guard 1 dropped, we did an episode about it with the old podcast. We're going to go ahead and repackage that and release it out to the masses. So you'll be able to hear our review of Old Guard 1 before you watch Old Guard 2.
It's by the way, it's Leandro Fernandez is the artist of Old Guard. So
there you go. So hopefully you'll check that out as a late movie mayhem entry. And it'll kind of get you geared up for the Superman movie, which will be the following week's episode, when we're going to be pairing that movie review with Red Sun, because that was JA's pick. I wanted to do Superman, Man for All Seasons, or I don't know, All-Star Superman. He's like, let's do him as a communist. I'm like, all right.
It's a great book. It's a great book.
It is.
It's an okay book. I'm a little.
I don't like Mark Millar. I don't like
Mark
Millar.
I'm a little burnt out on Mark Millar. Yeah.
Did you see? I'm sorry. Did you see the? I know I'm taking up our time. Whatever. Did you see the clip that they released from Superman of Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific going for his little T spear thing?
No.
He's like I like the vibe already. Like I wasn't so sure about it, but then the more I see of it, the more I'm like really, really giddy about it. But like he's at this garage and he's like, I got something that we can use or whatever. And he hits this button and the garage door starts going up and it's like super slow. Like the garage door is just going up and up and up. And Lois is standing there and she's like, you have a flying saucer, but you couldn't get a faster garage door. He's like, I'm working on that, So the vibe is very James Gunny vibe, but it looks fun.
I saw a scene of Guy Gardner eating a big bowl of Fruity Pebbles. It was more milk than Fruity Pebbles with his bowl cut, and I was just like, oh, that's charming.
It's going to be funny, It's going to be. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I'm taking the day off to go see that movie.
I want to, but
very excited.
I'm taking kiddos.
In my house.
I thought that this is a perfect movie to see with a bunch of kids. So hopefully my review of that movie will kind of.
I never get to see movies when they come out. So.
All right, gang, last thoughts before we wrap it up for Shop Talk this Saturday night. Starting around with Mikey. Last thoughts?
For tonight, my last thought in general, God, I hope people loved me as much as I loved them. But
as much as I love me.
Yeah. It's like, oh God. Last thoughts. I don't know. I'm just glad to be here, man. Like, I'm enjoying what I'm reading currently. I'm not reading a super ton of new stuff. You guys inspire me to read new things. Like, I'm going to check out the Marvel Ultimate stuff now. It's like I'm going to do that. So yeah, thanks for letting me be here, because my wife won't talk to me about this stuff. So.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Mikey, start reading The Eternaut, because that'll be a recording in a couple weeks. So we're going to have you on for that. Jay is very excited. It's also a Netflix show. They made a Netflix show about that. George, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I want to pitch my 10 favorite books right now coming from DC and Marvel. I'm going to do it super quickly. I'm not going to pitch the titles. I'm just going to list them off. From DC, I think you should be reading Birds of Prey. I think you should be reading Superman. I think you should be reading New Gods. I think you should be reading Poison Ivy. And I think you should be reading Batgirl. Those are the 5 books that I've tried to read as close to first as possible. I'm so excited every time I get those. From Marvel, I think you should be reading Scarlet Witch, which right now is a miniseries, Scarlet Witch and the Vision. But like it's an ongoing series. It's really annoying how they do
Are
it.
they
Listen to
kissing?
I'm
not going to read
it's
it.
getting
if they're not
intimate,
kissing.
but no kisses yet.
Mm.
Read Incredible Hulk. That book is very good. Read Miles Morales. That is probably my favorite of the Spidey titles going on right now.
Run out of fingers.
Read Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, and read Fantastic Four / One World Under Doom. I haven't read the new Fantastic Four #1 that comes out next week, but man, read all those. Those are all good books going on right now.
I'm going to request that from now on, instead of saying Spider-Man titles, you say Spidles.
Spidles, yeah, perfect. Yeah. Also, Spider Girl is actually like a very good miniseries, spinning out of the Spider Boy miniseries. So.
All right, Chad.
Now that my shop's closing down, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get those last couple Spider Boy issues. Anyway, George, I thought we'd close out by playing What's in the Bag?
Ooh.
What's in the bag? So I picked up this today. It's a copy of Superman 47, but it's Harley's Black Book version. And it's one of my favorite things to do. Is get a copy of a book that's in a bag and then find out what's in that bag.
I bought all 5 issues of Daredevil Unleash Hell, which is like I think Stephanie Phillips written Elektra Daredevil book.
Okay,
But
yeah,
they're
yeah.
poly-bagged, and I'm scared to open them. So I'm like, I'm just going to wait for the trade, because this shit's not coming to Marvel Unlimited, because it's like rated
Yeah,
red band.
Red band.
Is anybody reading that Old Man Daredevil book, or is that out
It's
yet?
real
No,
good.
it's so
Is it
fucking
real
good?
Is it
Yeah.
good? I have missed it so far. So
Yeah, that shit's
Chef's
really
kiss.
good.
But let's see. What do we got?
Oh!
Ooh, that's pretty.
Is that Lee Bermejo?
It seems Bermejo-esque, yes. So there
That's
we go.
Yeah, that
And
is
that's
gorgeous.
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? All right. Well, my final thoughts are make sure that you check out the Last Comic Shop every single week, as well as Short Box Summary with our friend George. George, where can they find your episodes every single week?
You can find me. I release episodes every Friday. You can find me wherever podcasts are sold. I'm going to try to bully Mikey into being a regular host. I've got Mikey. I've got my buddy ZZ, who I'm trying to create like an alternate schedule. So it's like I don't like pressure you into having like a weekly commitment, but like a bi-weekly commitment. I'm like, that's a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do that, and then just have like random one-offs with like movies tie-ins from back in the day. But no, I like talking about older books from the mid 2000s to figure out if they're good or if I was 15 when they were coming out. So listen to Shortbox, but really listen to Last Comic Shop. That is my favorite comic podcast to listen to. I used to love one called None of My Friends Read Comics. That was like maybe my favorite one. But the guy Nick is taking a hiatus, so you guys have officially taken the crown. You're holding the belt. You've got it right here. So.
Very cool.
By default. By default.
By default. By default.
But make sure again that you're rate, reviewing, and subscribing over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. Make sure that you don't watch Old Guard 2 before you watch Old Guard, or listen to our episode coming up this Tuesday. Make sure that you check out our past Last Ice Cream Shop to figure out how vanilla and chocolate seem to beat out all the other unwashed hordes.
Andy wouldn't let us do Neapolitan.
What's that?
He wouldn't let us do Neapolitan.
Even that's better, because at least there's strawberry to break up bad.
I gave him strawberry.
That's not an ice cream flavor. That's like a deal to people. That's not a flavor.
Exactly. That's like you can't make up your mind, so you get a bunch of flavors.
And the
in one
strawberry's
container.
always gone first. It's like,
You live in a house with kids, man. Everybody gets their section.
That's right.
Case. And if you're in the Seattle area, make sure that you're checking out Golden Age Collectibles, super cool store there, and the Fantagraphics bookstore and gallery. It's also right catty corner to a cool record shop. When I went in there, they got a free sticker because I thought that was the the counter. I was just like, here's I'm from the Last Comic Shop. Here's a sticker, and they were like, "We're a record store. The Fantagraphics is over."
Close
But he said
enough.
we love these stickers, so we'll keep it. So there you
The
go.
fact that
go.
he didn't see any comics never really flipped a switch in his brain. Oh, Andy, we love you.
Aw.
It's true.
Well,
Those treasuries are the same size as those albums.
That's true.
Thanks.
and if you liked this, if you liked Shop Talk or Talking Shop or whatever we're going to end up calling this, leave some comments. Make us aware of whether you liked listening to us for 2 hours, talk about current events, and this is a good supplement to our normal show.
I liked
If it's
it.
not, we won't do it. But if it
As
is,
much, we'll still
we
probably
will.
do it.
What if I like it and I want to keep doing
Well,
it? I don't
yeah.
get to have these conversations very often. Like
We don't
yesterday, I
need-
released a special episode of Shortbox Summary with ZZ, where it was just us talking about like the modern state of comics. But like my podcast is like normally about the mid 2000s. I never get to talk about shit that's coming out, and that's why I took such a long break, because I spent like a year and a half catching up on every book I wanted to read for the last like 10 years. So like this is incredible, and I want to keep doing it, please.
All right. Well, one other thing I want everybody to make sure that they check out is over at our merch store, we have a brand new t-shirt. We finally were able to print a graphic on the front and back. So now you can get one that has the Last Comic Shop logo right there in the corner, and then has the awesome artwork of one Mr. Mikey Wood on the back. So you don't have to pick. You don't have to go between, like, do I want the logo? Do I want the art? Now you can get a t-shirt with both. So we're going to show that as we finish off tonight. Make sure that you're getting out to our merch store. Click there. I think it's called The Ultimate.
Ooh.
Yes, because it's a nice little collection of both. It looks really great. I got a copy. So, any case, I'm the host with most, Andy Larson. I'm joined by Chad Smith, George from Shortbox Summary, and Mr. Mikey Wood. Until next time, stay safe, stay streaming, and remember that I just don't tell jokes on this one.
Wait, hold on. No, I've got a dad joke.
Oh,
for
you
this
do?
one.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Hey, Andy, did you know that before crowbars were invented, crows had to drink at home?
That joke is
We'll
for
see
the
you
birds.
Tuesday.
Yay.